All right, so this is the Washington County Courthouse. Now, this is actually the second courthouse. The first courthouse was at the exact same spot. It was built in 1785, but as you can see from the sign, the original courthouse actually burned down in 1871. And very sad because they didn't have any like fireproof safes or anything like that. So a lot of the county's original legal documents for like all the deeds and everything like that, all completely lost as part of the fire. They rebuilt the courthouse then after it burned in 1871, but they actually started rebuilding it in 1872, completed it in 1873. Now, what's really interesting is, so Civil War was over 1865, so this is less than 10 years after the Civil War. But I've always noticed that this building has some very interesting architecture. And if you look at the top up there, at the keystone, all right, so the keystone has some very interesting symbols on it. The first symbol, of course, is the flowering circle, which has a G in the center. Now the G is actually a Mason mark for the grand architect, the supreme being that has designed the universe. Now, even more interesting though is the circles around that are actually another Mason symbol. It stands for Hiram, the widow's son, sent to King Solomon. All right, and Hiram was building King Solomon's temple, and he got taken captive. And they tried to torture out of him all of the secrets of the temple, and he wouldn't give it up. He actually died from torture. So Hiram is actually used as a Masonic lesson in loyalty and protecting secrets. But then if you also look below the flowering circle, you have some diamonds carved in there as well. Now the diamonds are interesting because the Knights of the Golden Circle actually used a circle with a diamond over top of the circle to indicate where treasure was located on a map. They actually had it as several different sizes, and you'd have several different orientations and figure out where the treasure was buried locally, and that's where the diamond comes in. If you overlay the diamond on each of the circle points, including the center, then that actually gives you a master key for all of the Knights of the Golden Circle treasures that could potentially be buried in this area.
That's pretty cool.
And I only recently realized this as I stumbled on the Knights of the Golden Circle stuff as I was researching some of these marks. And what's amazing is it actually all ties into the what we found at Beaver Creek. Because remember, we had that rock at Beaver Creek that it's like a really weird looking rock. We didn't video record it. We need to look at it closer though. Definitely. Because I found a similar rock over here. So let's go over here to the side of the courthouse. Now keep in mind, this courthouse was rebuilt in 1872, 1873. But it was built on top of the original courthouse. So a lot of the lower level that you see here is the original stone from the first courthouse. Now if you take a look at this stone over here. Now picture for a minute how thick this wall is. And imagine this stone is the entire width of this wall. So probably this stone is about the same size as the stone that we found at Beaver Creek. Now what's really interesting is if you look at it, you actually can see here there appears to be a cross engraved as well as a circle.
I see.
And it looks like there's actually might be even a larger circle around it. And that would all be symbols of the Knights of the Golden Circle, symbols of the Knights Templar. So my theory is that when they rebuilt the courthouse in 1872, they actually made it a treasure key. And this is actually a key to a local repository of various Knights of the Golden Circle treasures that were going to be used after the Civil War to fund the invasion of Cuba and Mexico. Now there's one more thing that I want to show you here, and that's over here on the other side. And that's talking about how we know that they'll never move, tear down the courthouse and rebuild it anywhere. And this is absolutely fantastic because it actually even really cements the courthouse as being an important marker. And the circle and the diamonds up there, that's really they're hiding the information in plain sight.
I've certainly never seen it.
Right. I mean, how many people look up there? Not many. And it's absolutely amazing that nobody has actually noticed this until now. So if we come over here along the other side of the courthouse, in 1877, the United States Geological Survey actually set out on what was called the U.S. Coastal Survey. All right, and they actually chose this location as the first marker for the Coastal Survey back in 1877. The stone here on the courthouse is at a known elevation of 552.25 feet. And according to records, that elevation has not changed since 1877. So this is actually considered the most stable marker that they have as part of the U.S. Coastal Survey. So that cements even more the importance of the courthouse and how it would, they'll never tear it down because they have stuff like this here.
Right.
So I'm super excited to see what we see tomorrow, because I'm really got good feelings about this. So if you take the Knights of the Golden Circle's treasure key, and they actually had 3 different sizes. The largest size had a radius of 62 miles. Now the 62 miles is very interesting because the largest Knights of the Golden Circle treasure ever found was 5,000 gold coins found in Baltimore in a basement of a house that was belonged to an associate of John Wilkes Booth, who was a Knights of the Golden Circle member.
Okay.
You draw the circle with Hagerstown as the center of the circle, and it actually gives you a 62-mile radius between Hagerstown and Baltimore.
That's really neat.
So that means that the highly likely that Hagerstown is probably the focal point of one of these treasure keys. Baltimore was on the outskirts of it, and then there's some in between all around, possibly even up into Pennsylvania.
Huh.
So, yeah, now, original theories said that the treasure keys would always point in the same direction, the same orientation. But what I've found looking at my research, it looks like there would actually be indicators to tell you which direction to point north, basically, for the treasure key.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we don't actually have to figure out what that indicator was, because we now have an identical stone at Beaver Creek that tells us which direction to point our local marker.
Right.
Which allows us then to identify additional treasure possible locations. So I'm super excited about tomorrow.
Really cool.
Yeah, I'm super excited about tomorrow, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's go ahead and head out, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds like a plan.
So, we are back here at Beaver Creek. Now, yesterday we went through the Washington County Courthouse, site, and we looked at some of the symbols that are up on top of that building. So the symbols are actually Knights of the Golden Circle symbols. So who is Knights of the Golden Circle? Knights of the Golden Circle were Confederate version of the Knights Templar. The Knights of the Golden Circle wanted to build a golden slave empire. Yes, racist as hell. A golden slave empire with basically the entire South of the United States, and then Cuba, Mexico, Central America. Basically a golden circle around the Gulf of Mexico. And they wanted to build this to be an empire that would rival Rome in size. Their plans were originally that they were going to try to force the United States. They were just going to go and keep admitting Southern Allied states into the Union, so that they could then basically just control the entire United States, and then they'd have the political power to allow them to do the invasions. That, of course, did not work, so they then shifted their goals towards secession. They managed to get enough political influence to actually get the South to secede from the Union. The Knights then had the plan that once the Civil War was over, they were going to take all of the plunder that they got from while they were fighting the Union and use it to fund the invasion of Mexico and Cuba. So during the Civil War, they would then specifically go out, they would attack Union banks, Union supply convoys, ransom Union towns such as Hagerstown, Frederick, Middletown, and then they would cash that money and put that money away for safekeeping to retrieve after the war. So this is money that never went into the Confederate treasury.
Right.
Now, what got me researching them is I found some symbols on the Washington County Courthouse that I could not explain why they were there, because they were kind of Masonic symbols, but not traditional Masonic symbols. And after doing enough digging, sure enough, it led me down this path of the Knights Golden Circle. And what's interesting is the Knights of the Golden Circle have a treasure key. And now I'm not going to show the treasure key on here. You can look up the treasure key online if you do enough digging. But if you overlay the treasure key, it has various sizes. It's a diamond with a circle in the center. The traditional large size of the treasure key is 62-mile radius in the large circle. If you put a dot on Hagerstown and you create a 62-mile radius, that 62-mile radius lands directly on Baltimore. Baltimore is the location of the largest Knights of the Golden Circle treasure ever found. That was 5,000 gold coins found in the residence of an associate of John Wilkes Booth. So the fact that we've got symbols for the Knights of the Golden Circle in Hagerstown bodes very well for us, because at the same spot in the courthouse, on a smaller stone on the side of the courthouse, is actually engraved one of their treasure keys. Alright, it's very faint, hard to read, but the stone looks exactly the same as the stone that we found on the path back here behind John's house. So I think that's absolutely amazing. We need to look at the stone a little bit closer and see, does it have the same engravings on it? I actually suspect if it does, they're probably going to be a little bit more defined on the one here, because it's been protected from the elements better than the stone that's on the side of the courthouse and has water running on it constantly. So our main goals today are examine the stone. We need to go back to the cliff. I actually have some climbing gear that we can use on the cliff. And then third goal I want to do today is, besides searching the cliff area, is I want to go back here to the front of the property, and I want to see, did we actually find an old trolley rail?
Right.
If we did, absolutely fantastic, and that's going to be a tremendously cool find.
Yeah.
Except for trying to pick it up, because those things are heavy. But that's okay. I've got ropes. We'll figure it out.
One at a time.
Yep, one
We
at a
got
time.
a Jeep.
Yeah. So now my wife, she ordered Chinese last night.
What's your fortune?
That's what we're gonna find out. What is our fortune? All right. So she gave me a fortune cookie. I'm supposed to open it while we're recording, and we're gonna find out if the fortune's gonna tell us that we're gonna find the treasure or what we're gonna find. John, I'll let you read this one.
Okay.
I'll let you read that.
The rubber bands are heading in the right direction.
The rubber band.
We can only hope.
Interesting.
Well, what's funny about that is one of the ways to draw that circle on the map is using a rubber band.
Ridiculous. What? I've never even
I like
heard
it.
of a fortune like that.
I like it. I like
it.
it. The History Hub Hunters Lucky Horseshoe has paid off. All right, so let's grab our equipment. Any questions?
None.
Good. All right, let's grab our equipment and get to it. Oh.
What's there, man?
All right, I'm picking up a beer can there, so I'm gonna go ahead and.
Beer can?
Huh?
It says a beer can?
Well, it says it's a pull tab or a nickel, but
It could be an old port.
Is it a Budweiser? Palmer's is bigger. Palmer's, yeah, they're, I think they're
nothing there.
My wife, what's on? My wife is
Definitely something in there.
I think the Puck Burgers. Those are Williamsburg burgers. Yeah. What's else?
Oh.
Mark Crawford burger. I couldn't tell you.
No, it's not it. But
All I know is Roberta had 13 kids and I can't keep track of all of them.
Hey.
Very handsome.
I don't know if you take a look at this. See if that looks like it's pottery or if it's just a rock. It's probably just a rock.
Pot of rock.
It's an interesting looking rock, whatever it is.
It's a rock, same as everything else I got around here.
Alright. We're going deep. So yeah, so that definitely looks like it's, I mean, you can definitely see it's iron in there.
Yeah.
But what is it?
It's a very weird shape, actually.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, yeah.
Well, so the trolley lines weren't the same shape as a regular railroad
Wait,
line.
what
They were
is
same
that?
width. You could still run the same cars, but they had like extra shielding on them or something on the sides.
I don't know what this weirdness is, but that is right on top of it.
Not magnet or
It's a
not.
gel bender.
Let's see. I think it's quartz. Yeah, it's quartz. Look. See, look here. Quartz.
Cool.
This is not a small item, and it
No.
appears to be flat. Like,
And that's but
it has curve to it.
Yep, and that's probably a good sign it's a trolley line.
Man.
So.
I'm just going on the very edge, so I don't want to make this hole any deeper than it needs to be, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to define the edges of this
Yeah, we're
object.
probably going to have to end up widening this.
Just about 6 feet.
Well, I knew we'd find something interesting.
this keeps going.
Yep. And that's a good indication it's a polyline. And the other option is we just start taking John's big shovel and we start digging. But that's John's call, because I like to. Well, I mean, I prefer to make it so that we can just put a plug back in place. But if we use your shovel to excavate, we're going to have a dirt line going through here. So that's up to you.
Man, Buckler.
Doing a hole, you can replug it with a shovel.
All right, let me get some of this dirt out of here. If you want to reassess, and then I'll keep digging. But let me get the dirt out of the way.
We can cut a bit of a plug with the shovel, but it's not going to be as precise as us using a knife. So.
Okay.
So
we currently have this shape to at least back here, continuing up here, definitely curved, definitely flat on top.
Yep. And that's what it was. The trolley lines were curved.
Okay.
On one part.
You want to see? What?
Wait, that could be a horseshoe though, huh? Maybe no, it's too big. Interesting.
It might be a spike. It might be a railroad spike.
It's not the right shape.
But you're right, it's not.
Look,
You're right.
It's this.
Well, no, it's bent. It's bent.
Look.
Okay, oh, I see. Yeah, I bet that's an old...
It's an old.
Yeah, it's a very
It's
old.
an old.
It's an old.
Actually, you
Can
know
you
what that
get
looks like?
underneath of it?
Horseshoe.
Yeah,
How
that
it's
looks like...
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
What? What's it look like?
Can you get
Yeah.
underneath?
It looks like the freaking butter churn we found before.
Hell yeah. You know what? Now we got both pieces. That bitch is operational. Let's make butter.
Yeah. I am gonna laugh if that's the broken piece of the butter churn.
Fetch me a barrel.
That would.
I will not make no more butter.
Well, especially because of how far away we are from that property.
Hey Google.
That
how
woman
do I
was
make butter
mad.
in
She
a
was done doing
barrel?
butter.
That would really be interesting.
She was done turning butter for the day. That's all there was to it.
I'll go home if it's more 200-year-old dirty dishes. Like,
Did you tell them about the shaving mug we found?
No, we found that was probably about 60s when I dated that too.
oh,
About
okay.
60s Old Spice shaving cream.
Oh yeah.
Look at.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta get this additional
It's not
object
broken at all. Thank you.
that has presented itself out of the way. Okay, so there's this big
Imagine
piece.
that, a rock.
There's this big piece of whatever.
It's probably a rock.
It's a rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rocks in the soil.
I say, there's no rocks in Washington County.
Yeah, I mean, look at that huge
Oh, I
pile
got
over there.
movement. Okay, hold on.
You got movement?
Yeah, like I can.
Okay.
I can kinda make
that's,
it-
That's a good sign. All right, that means we don't have to go excavate those things. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. What we got?
Maybe a piece of a horseshoe. It's looking like. Yep.
Oh.
Is that like
wow.
a legit one?
It is.
Okay.
Oh
That's a
wow.
legit hammered on.
That is a hand forged horseshoe.
Okay. So where's the proby thing, and I'll see if there's any other
Proby thing.
Fetch me the probe.
Oh. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, there's more in there?
Yeah. So like there
All right.
might be another piece or whatever. So.
They
Yeah.
go, like in line with like.
Oh, that is
you know,
absolutely
as wide
fantastic.
As, like where do you have the flag?
Here you go. John,
That's pretty cool.
that's probably Civil War era.
Yeah.
Well, we know it's an era when people were
It's
shooting
heirloom.
horses.
So there we go. So there's what we were looking for. More proof that the Confederates were absolutely here. Well,
I mean, you
Confederates
can't
or
say
Union.
Or horse rider. It could also be whoever's farm this was way back in the day.
Maybe. Now, let's look at the end of it once here. So now, does this look like it was? All right, hey, focus here. Hello, focus on my hand. There we go. All right, so that looks like it broke off. It wasn't cut in half. So one of the things the Union would do is when they had old horseshoes they wanted to get rid of, they would
intentionally cut the horseshoes in half so that the Confederates couldn't come along, find them, and reuse them. So
Makes sense.
yeah, well, you know, I mean,
And it in no way benefited them to like salvage them or melt them down. Like,
no,
okay.
no. But yeah, I mean that is definitely so our horseshoe brought us luck and found us another horseshoe. I'm good with this.
Rubber bands.
Rubber bands.
I don't know. You said that
Rubber
was a
bands
jawbone.
right
Like maybe we found the whole horse. Like. That's very shiny and not the right color.
I'll have to go get my kit so we can document with the stake. So one of the things we do is we actually take, and I've got a whiteboard and a ruler that I'll put the whatever we find, take a photo of it, and then the state of Maryland actually has a archaeological app that reports it to the Maryland Historical Trust so that they have a record of it, what it was, where you found it, and that way it's actually preserved. We preserve the history that way.
Well, and I assume it provides a database for other people, like,
Research.
so you can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe if we're lucky, if I submit enough, maybe they'll let me have access to it.
Ooh. You mentioned the fact that we got the Navy in the DM's buckler.
Yeah. Have you heard back from them yet?
Yeah. They're.
The actual Navy.
Yeah. Well, you can tell the story.
Yeah.
But-
So basically, there's a gentleman, and I'm not going to mention his name, but there's a gentleman that we believe might have been a Knights of the Golden Circle leader here in the Hagerstown area, and the Navy has a whole bunch of documents on him. He was a Confederate surgeon, but for some reason all of his memoirs and stuff like that are down in North Carolina, even though he was from Hagerstown. So Christine here got a hold of the Navy.
I have no shame.
and said, hey, you know, we're doing research on this guy.
Hello, Navy.
Any way we can get a copy of those documents. They're going to get a bunch of student volunteers to digitize all the documents for us and send them back to us.
Like whoever the interns are, like working, because they're actually in the process of like wherever these physical records are, like right now, they're in the process of digitizing them anyway. But they have so much stuff that like they'll prioritize it if somebody asks for readers. Which we didn't know. I was basically just like, this only exists at Duke University. I can't drive to Duke University. Is there anything?
Yeah.
See, I told my wife that, you know, we might have to take a road trip down to Duke.
Hell yeah.
Whatever it takes, man.
I just wasn't going to tell the Navy that was an option.
There's definitely something else in there. It might be the other half of the horseshoe.
And it, like, it's weird because anywhere I put it, it's the same. Like, it's
How does it pick? Like,
it's not
I
any
mean,
closer or farther
Does it pick
away.
up like, you know, like the metal just like kind of flakes off? Like, does it pick that up? Or is it just...
It'll pick up as small as your ring. So.
Oh, well then.
Yeah.
But the closer you get to the object, it beeps faster.
Yeah.
Like, so even if you can't see it, if it starts, but this is weird because no matter where I put it,
Well, and remember
it's the same.
we saw that same behavior. We have seen that same behavior several places on this property now.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a horseshoe at the edge of the hole, that would make sense because you're digging all in the center of the horseshoe, but you're not getting to the actual horseshoe.
Could also be another wagon wheel rim.
Could be another wagon wheel.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering is if
Well, I remember I told you it was a strange hit because I got an iron and an aluminum hit.
how do I know if we need to go deeper or wider? Are we hitting it from the front or the back? How's this going?
Let me go get my metal detector real
Okay.
quick, and we'll do that.
Yeah, I don't.
One that's hit the pogo stick. It says
This is good. This is fantastic.
it says expert right on the front.
Expert. Please don't twist an ankle.
Oh. Okay, well.
All right, so
can we
maybe
count
the
that
big
as
shovel wasn't a good
resistance?
idea.
Like, here, baby, you try. Cause, like, I don't know. Like, it's just crazy.
All right, so John, we're gonna give you a lesson regarding your property.
All right.
All right. So that big hole that we had here, that you'll see we've now covered back up,
Right.
but we did not find anything inside of. We dug enough clay out to determine that your clay has a high amount of iron in it.
All right. That's gonna make this all kinds of fun. Then,
That
isn't
makes
it?
us all sorts of fun, yeah. Because now you remember the hole that we dug further up that way?
Oh yeah.
So that hole up there was the same thing, where we dug down far enough, and then we just kept digging and digging, and it was detecting it all around, and we couldn't figure out why. Well, that was why, because it was high iron amount in the clay. We got enough out of this hole that we were able to. Hey, I ran the pinpointer across it. And it was like, yeah, there's metal in here. And then as you spread the clay out, then the signal disappears because you no longer have the concentration of iron in the same spot.
Right.
So that's something we have to account for, that if we get down deep enough where we're hitting clay, we stop.
This is perfect. I don't know why this is.
Well, it depends. Well,
Like,
so
why can't I go to Home Depot?
in this
and buy
case, we
item?
were like 6 inches down before we hit the clay. So,
Yeah, you just have to
Right?
yeah, we're working so hard over here. We actually broke a shovel already.
I heard.
So,
That was some broken equipment.
yeah, so that's okay. Yeah, so I've got your bottle of water here for you. By the way.
Oh no, it might be the dirty
So,
one.
here you are.
Yeah, that's
Oh, yours.
kind of why I was like. What do you think? Just the dirt again, or keep digging?
I like
What we
how
got?
the first one, like we find something, and then these are just. I think
I'm
it's
gonna
the
go.
dirt.
It's the clay.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's the clay.
All right.
So
Good call.
so at this point, all right, I'm thinking that if we don't find something within the first 4 inches or so,
Yeah.
that we're probably done digging the hole.
Okay.
So go ahead and put the wow. Family show. Family show.
Is it?
Go ahead and put the plug back in then.
All right. Piece of quartz back to the earth.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Okay.
So let's go over here to this last hole then. And you want to come over here and look closer at it. So this rock was originally upside down, and that's actually the way they would do it if it was a rock out in the middle of nowhere. Is they bury the rock, or well, they wouldn't bury it, but they'd flip it upside down with the markings underneath to protect the markings. And you can tell it was originally upside down because it's got dirt all over it still. Now the property owner, when he was building his chicken coop, he wanted to use this rock as part of the foundation, but it was too large for his tractor. So if you look at it, that is the exact same type of rock that was on the foundation for the county courthouse. And we cleared it off some, and after I cleared it off, I saw that there's definitely some markings on here. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm seeing it looks like it's a diamond right there. Which, as I said before, diamond was one of the markings that the Knights of the Golden Circle would use, and that was actually half of their treasure key. But then, even more interesting too, is it's actually more than just a diamond. It's actually a crosshatch, and the crosshatch is a symbol that was common in the Knights of the Golden Circle, as well as dates back all the way back to the Knights Templar. So I really believe that based on those markings and how well defined those markings are, I'm pretty sure it's probably linked to the stone at the courthouse.
I mean, it's even the same thickness. If you look at how thick that is, that's the exact same thickness. And the size would be about right. So at the courthouse, it was the wall would be like right here, and then they've got like the actual stone wall is like 24 inches thick. So right here would be what you'd see at the courthouse sticking out here, and then there was a drain pipe going down here. Yeah, I absolutely believe that's almost the same rock with similar markings. So I think that's a good indication that it was originally a marker for where treasure might be. Well, you know, where they deposited possibly the ransom Hagerstown. Now, what's interesting is, so stones with these kind of markings on it, they were put them at the northeast corner of whatever building they were building. Obviously there's no building here, so, but I think that we're still going to see the same true, that northeast corner is going to be this stone, which was originally up the path here a little ways. And so that means that whatever we're looking for is probably going to be to the southwest. So if I pull up my compass here, and we will look at my compass, sure enough, southwest takes us to the cliff. So I think that we're in the right area. I think we just need to go to this cliff, and we need to search the cliff with a fine-tooth comb.
What's interesting though is that you would never guess that there's a cliff around here.
No, well,
never...
because of the trees.
Right.
Now I pulled the actual, the state of Maryland has LiDAR imaging, which shows you the slope, and you can see that on the slope. Now what's really fascinating about it too with that cliff is the section that we're going to be going to. The cliff is almost a straight line, and nature doesn't make straight lines, which tells me that and apparently my phone agrees because I forgot to put it on silent, which tells me that that cliff has probably been altered by someone.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited to see what we find. So, all right, so let's get out here and see what we can see. So this is a inspection scope. Typically you'll use this for construction, plumbing, check to see if there's like a leak in a pipe anywhere in a wall or something. The nice thing about this scope is it's actually got a flashlight on the end of it, so I can actually put it back inside of a crevice, and I can see if there's anything inside of the crevice hidden. And that way I also don't have to stick my hand in and get bit by any critters. So I'm gonna switch this to video mode so I can actually record as I'm doing it. But do our trial run here. All right. And yeah, I'm not seeing anything back in there. Right back there pretty deep though. Yeah, there's nothing in there. So, but scope's working, so we will go up here to other crevices up higher and see what we can find. All right, so looking at this cliff, we're seeing some abnormalities with it. That it definitely looks like it's been altered. Now the question is, why was it altered? Was it altered because somebody was burying something here? So if you look at the cliff side there, that's very flat for a cliff. Typically cliffs are going to be more jagged. So like if you look to the right there, to the right is a lot more jagged over where Charming is. But to the left is almost smooth, and that's very unusual for a cliff. Once again, nature doesn't make straight lines, so why is it so smooth? Now we're over here. John actually found what looks like to be a sizable hole that we're going to run the inspection scope in and see if we can find anything.
All right.
Recording yet?
We are not.
All right, so John found two of these rather interesting holes. It could be animal burrows, but we're going to run the inspection scope in these because those are sizable enough you could hide something inside of. So, and I'm going to hit record on here.
Be careful.
Oh, I am. I'm like looking for my exit, you know?
Yeah. Just lay down.
I grabbed the rope and sat down.
Jack Daniels.
My man.
My man.
I'm Jimmy Beamer.
Oh, squirrel walnut.
The squirrel's walnut.
Here, is it enough for like
Nothing
him
else
from
in there.
maybe?
So we got this hole that we kept digging and digging last time, and no matter how far we dug, it kept telling us there was more metal in there. Well, now if we go over here to another hole that we just dug randomly, then the pinpointer starts telling us that there's metal in that hole too. So what we're thinking is there's such high iron or other metal concentrations in this soil that it's actually making it near impossible to actually metal detect here, which is interesting. Now obviously they didn't have metal detectors during the Civil War, but by God, if I'm going to hide something, I'm going to hide it somewhere that you have trouble metal detecting. So I'm going to say that, you know, this is all cursed land, and that they've successfully booby-trapped the land into tricking us on thinking that stuff is here that actually isn't.
I don't think it's fair.
So it's going to
Isn't there
make it very
like a-
challenging to actually to find anything here, because apparently the whole freaking ground is nothing but metal particles. So fun times. So let's go over to the cliff then. We'll metal detect the cliff a little bit maybe, and then I'm at a loss here. I've never had this problem before. In all the times that I've metal detected, I've never had this problem before where the ground was so saturated with metallic objects or metallic particles. Or I don't know about you, John. Is anything?
It's frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. So,
Randy, we need you.
yeah, you know, it's very very sad that Randy couldn't join us. Randy understands this more than any of us combined, probably. So we're gonna fill these holes back in.
We're gonna message Randy and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. And we're gonna go over to this cliff and we're gonna see what we can find, and we might not find anything, or we might just find the whole cliff is magnetic. So we'll see.
Stay tuned for Beaver Creek episode 3.
Yeah, yeah, possibly.